Peace and love, it's your boy Don Kilam, and welcome to Dream Keepers Radio, that private life podcast. You're here, tuned in with your boy, and this is brought to you by Follow the Yellow Brick Road by Don Kilam. Search the book on Amazon now. Go get the book and uncover the matrix and how the United States is operating in the financial marketplace. Much peace and love. Peace and love, it's your boy Don Kilam, also known as Malik Kilam, and as always, prosperity is your divine birthright. Let's get the disclaimer right off the bat. I'm not a licensed attorney or tax expert. This is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. This shit is quite entertaining at times. But today we're gonna get straight into it, man. Understand that true freedom is freedom of the mind. Dome, your mind. Mind means dome, freedom. So it starts with a mindset. It starts with your mind. I'm going off a couple joints right now, so I'm high. I'm free for real. I'm free flowing for real. So, but I need you to understand, Don Kilam is a name, it's a brand, it's a business, and so is your name. You need to understand your name is worth something. It starts with understanding your name is the brand. Your name is the business. Your name is what's going to bring you the bag. Your name is what's going to bring you the money. Your name is what you need to protect. I'm not sure if this is right or wrong, but it just did pop in my mind that, having a good name is better than money. If you got a good name, you got good credit, you can have the world, because we live in a system like that based on full faith and credit. When it comes to the private sector and the public sector, these are two different things. And understanding business, we got private securities, we got public securities. And when you're talking about money, you got to understand security is money as well. When you understand your name is the business, you'll start realizing this. 401ks are securities. If people have 401ks, they need to understand securities. These securities are based upon your name as well in the private sector. When you're dealing with securities, when you're dealing with trustee training, because I want to throw out some key words today. Key words that I don't hear in the community enough. Key words that we talk about with private families. In these private communities are common unities. These private common unities, these private families, these private tribes, these private churches, all right, these private organizations, all right, these private membership associations, these private ministry associations. We have something called a memorandum trust. People need to understand what these are used for. So I'm gonna bring this up. I'm bringing up the definitions. I'm gonna give you the public definitions. We can't really go into private with these things, but I need y'all to understand what a memo is used for, because we've heard of memorandums at work. Memorandums start off with trustee traineeship. Memorandums come from the trustee verbiage. And one of the primary benefits of having a trust is the privacy offered by estate planning methods, all right? So unlike a will, which becomes a matter of public record, when it's offered for probate, your trust agreements does not become public. So your business remains your business, all right? So what happens then when you are attempting to fund your trust and a bank or other institution requests a copy of your trust agreements for its files? You want to do business with the institution, but part of the purpose of having the trust is the privacy that it's supposed to be afforded to you. So the solution is having your estate planning, whoever your estate planner is, it could be an attorney. Attorney is going to be part of the domestic realm, though, unless you have a private attorney. So you have your estate planner draw up something called a memorandum of trust, a memo of trust, sometimes also called an affidavit of trust. And this legal document tells the bank all it needs to know. And these are things that you need to know as a trustee, and these are things that I'm not hearing out here in this community. So in the memorandum of trust, this is what's typically compiled within it. And this is the name of the trust, the date of the trust, the facts of who the trust maker is, the grantor, the name of the initial trustee, or maybe just the successor trustees, the identities of those who signed the trust, the powers given to the trustees, and the fact if the trust is revocable or irrevocable. This is your memorandum of trust, and it's going to be signed, witnessed, and notarized, and that's what makes it a very flexible document. It can be used in all kinds of transactions, and you can even be recorded in the county for real estate records along with property deeds so that it can be used for funding real estate into your trust. This way, your trust can be used to keep your private affairs just that, private. A memorandum of trust. I don't hear this enough in the sovereign community. I don't hear this enough in the freedom community, in the patriot community. We're always talking about trust, but you don't never hear this memorandum of trust. And these are something that's crucial to your prosperity and how you're interacting with domestic entities as a foreign entity. Because on the last podcast, what I talked about is foreign entities versus domestic entities. Foreign entities are private. Domestic entities are public. Domestic entities are your LLCs. If you're just using these things without your own private operating agreements, it's substance versus form is what it's called. And if you're not creating your substance for each form that you created in the public, then anytime you're getting audited, that is a domestic entity. It's belonging to the public trust. Another word that I'm not hearing enough is dividends. Dividends. If you're dealing with trusteeship, you're a private trustee, you need to understand dividends and how they work. So dividends are the percentage of a company's earning that is paid to its shareholders as their share. This is their share of the profits. Dividends are generally paid quarterly with the amount decided by the board of directors based on the company's most recent earnings. You get a piece of the pie if you're the private investor. And a lot of people's not understanding if you're in a domestic entity, you're always a private investor and you do not get your share of the dividends. And if they do give you your share of the dividends, they're going to give it to you in a way where you don't know how to do anything with that form or that security or that type of money that they issue to you. Whether it's a coupon bond, a debt instrument, and bills, in forms of bills, they're getting it to you in ways where you believe it to not be money. Because you don't have private trusteeship. You don't have private trustee training. You got a public education. So you got to learn these things. So a dividend is a distribution of a company's earnings to eligible shareholders. And when you're in the public, if you're dealing in the public, you are always the shareholder, but you're not getting your piece of the pie. That's how that 28 USC 2002 subsection 15A United States means corporation works. The corporation works by making you a shareholder and you never get your cut. They're going to debo you. They take it. Not only do they make you the private investor, they receive the benefits. All right. And when you understand, so dividend is a distribution of a corporate profit to qualified shareholders as determined by the company's board of directors. That's what a dividend is. Now, I need another fiduciary. I hear everybody throw this word around. Fiduciary. But you got to understand you're acting as a fiduciary as well as a trust. And if you're a trustee, you appoint fiduciaries. And that's what you're doing with your government when you're part of domestic affairs. When you're doing the domestic trust, when you're doing the Social Security number, you're making them fiduciaries, you know? And that's the only thing you get to pick. Like, here's your choices, but you get to pick one. So under a private trust, you get to pick whoever and hire and contract with whoever you want. Everything is contract law. You got to understand gifts. Gifts is another key word. Gift, G-I-F-T. That's another key word when it comes to trust. A gift in trust is a special legal and fiduciary arrangement that allows an indirect bequest of assets to a beneficiary. So the purpose of a gift in trust is to avoid the tax on gifts that exceed the annual gift tax exclusion. All right. And I don't want to tell you the wrong number. I want to say that's 12 million. Let's see here. The general announced that the exclusion, so you have a lifetime gift, 12.6 million. So you have an exemption. When you're in part of the private trust, you have an automatic exemption of 12.6 $12 million exemption. You can gift to different entities as an individual. Or you can set up a type of gift trust, all right? But gifts and trusts are commonly used to pass wealth from one generation to another by establishing a trust fund. Typically, the IRS taxes the value of a gift being transferred up to an annual gift tax exclusion amount. A gift and trust is a way to avoid taxes on gifts that exceed the annual gift tax exclusion amount. One type of gift and trust is a Crummey trust. Crummey. Crummey, I would say Crummey. Crummey trust, which allows gifts to be given for a specific period, establishing the gifts as the present interest and eligible for the gift tax exclusion. A drawback to a gift and trust is when it's established without limitations, allowing a beneficiary such as a child to withdraw large amounts, jeopardizing the fund's financial viability. And you need to understand this because your job as a trustee is to grow the trust. And you work for the beneficiaries. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on the gifts, but I want you to know when you're dealing with the corporate system, when you're dealing with these court systems, you're dealing with these debt instruments, you're dealing with asset-backed securities. I don't know if that hits at home, but if you're paying a bill, that's an asset-backed security. If you have a car lease, a car note, a mortgage-backed security, these are asset-backed securities. So I need you to understand you're always the main investor. And you're always gifting your proceeds to these corporations because you're not knowing how to act in trust. You're not knowing how to grow the trust for you. You're growing the trust for them. And that's what the trustee is there to do. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're no longer the beneficiary. You have made these corporations beneficiaries. That's how you're acting on a domestic entity, a domestic trust, a public trust. That's the public economy because these trusts are established by the government. So it's just there to benefit and grow the government. Because trustees are there to grow the trust. So if you have a private trust, a private family foreign trust, you're there to grow your private family. If you're operating in the public, you're there to grow the government. You're there to grow that family, all right? So another trustee word that people need to know. I don't hear this word in the community. This is $1 million worth of game, truthfully, because I'm giving you a game that you never heard, and that's annuities. Annuity. And then, now an annuity, ANNUITY. It is a contract between you and the insurance company that requires the issuer to make payments to you, either immediately or in the future. You get a fixed amount of money for the rest of your life in return for a lump sum payment or a series of installments. Annuity. This is a trustee word. And if you're a true trustee, you're dealing in trust, you're dealing in the private communities, these are words that you need to know. This is trusteeship, man. Drop a 100 emoji, something. If you're out there in the real world, you're seeing this, you're seeing it on a reel, you're seeing it on leave a comment. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure you leave 5-star reviews, all right? And drop a comment, leave a review. Because this is $1 million worth of game. This is life-changing information. Let me know that you agree. Engage so I can continue to bring out this information to the public. All right? Now, another word that trusteeships, because you need to know you're an entrepreneur. When I say trusteeship, these are entrepreneurs. These are people creating businesses. These are creators in the public. Not only are we in the private creating and protecting our family wealth, we're also benefiting the public. We're benefiting humanity. We're creating jobs for humanity. The public sector always creates the public sector. Therefore, the private sector controls the public sector. So, a lot of people don't understand what JVs are. And these are joint ventures. When you understand joint ventures and how to set up joint ventures, I think this is something people need to understand. A joint venture is a business arrangement in which two or more parties agree to pool their resources for the purpose of accomplishing a specific task. The task can be a new project or any other business activity. Each of the recipients in a joint venture is responsible for profits, losses, and costs associated with it. However, the venture in its own entity, separate from the participants' other business interests. So in a joint venture or a JV, two or more businesses decide to combine their resources in order to fulfill a goal. That's basically what it is. Now, I call it SPACs. I've heard it called SPECs. SPAC. This is another trustee training word. I have not heard in the sovereign community. You know, and I'm asking my cameraman. You ever heard that word SPAC? SPAC. My cameraman Steve's never even heard of. He's shaking his head no. So these are special purpose acquisition companies. Special purpose acquisition companies. And they have become a preferred way for many experienced management teams and sponsors to take companies public. A SPAC raises capital through an initial public offering, an IPO. And I need people need to hear that word when I say IPO, initial public offering. The key word is offering. You give offerings in church. So for the purpose of acquiring an existing operating company. So a SPAC is created as an IPO to acquire an existing operating company. So it's like a holding company looking to acquire a special operating company. So, and that's, you got to learn the formation and how to fund these things. People don't even know how to fund and get capital. You need to know how to fund and get capital for your private trust. That's why you should have private trustee training. These are one of the things that we do. These are one of the things we talk about. These are one of the things we do in the private. Now, I've talked about this in the past. Special purpose entities, SPVs, special purpose vehicles, and special purpose entities. These are subsidiary companies to isolate financial risks. All right. It's a legal status as a separate company, secure even if the parent company goes bankrupt. All right. So these are called bankrupt remote entities as well. These protect companies from bankruptcy. A parent company creates an SPV to assets in a separate company, so a separate balance sheet, protecting the parent company from failure or solely to securitize debt. And a reason why I bring this up is because that's what's going on with your name. The United States is your parent company. The United States is the parent company for what you believe to be your name. Your name is they call it a straw man. That's considered an SPV, a special purpose vehicle, bankruptcy entity created as your name's an operating company, and the United States Corporation is the holding company. And that's how it works. And everything that you have or own is being pledged on the balance sheet as their assets so they can continue to have credit, if that makes sense. So one of the ways we get out of this and this is an offshore entity. This is a foreign trust, a 508c1a ministry trust. A private ministry trust can be used worldwide. A private ministry trust can be internationally. It's not considered a domestic trust when you're operating under a private 508c1a, an unincorporated trust, because it's not domestic, because you're not setting it up with the Secretary of State. So people need to understand this, and you can do a lot of research and Google it. I got a book coming out in October on the 508c1a. I already have some out there called Laying the Path, and look it up on Amazon by Don Kilam. Just why the 508c1a ministry trust is important. It's private contracts. Private contracts create this trust. And I'm gonna continue to stress this on. I don't need you to know how important this is. Church versus the state. When we're looking at Russia, it has a prime minister. You look at the Vatican, it's its own country. It has a pope. And that's how you have to look at it. Who can control you? Who's going to have final say over you? And that's going to be the courts. The courts is a form of a church. That's why the judge is wearing a robe, a morning robe. He's wearing the same robe as the pope. When you look at the law, it comes down from canon law. Canon law, the Vatican. So canon law is the law of the judges. Just look this up. This is how it started turning my wheels. How is it that the judge has to listen to canon law? Because they're under the church. Everything is ecclesiastical. That's why it's church versus state. Churches can do a lot of creepy things and not get in trouble because they have their own jurisdiction. They have their own type of countries. They're their own private organizations. They have their own private contracts. They have their own private covenants with God. And when you figure out who you are, you'll quit using a birth certificate, because that's putting you at a Roman slave status. That's putting you under the Vatican Church. That's putting you as a slave status where the courts can have, contractually, they have rights over you because you made a covenant outside your God. When we look at the birth certificate, that's showing us who your true maker is. So do you have a baby land deed? These are alternatives right here. These are things I need you to write down and research. Do you have a baby land deed? Do you have an affidavit of birth? Because you can create these things. And this is why I say don't authenticate the birth certificate, because it's their document. Why would you authenticate something? And it's a certified copy at that. You never get the original birth certificate. If I get a signature authenticated, it's to prove that it's the original, not no certified copy. I need people to understand that. So, in order to prove who your maker is, you can have a tribal birth certificate, a private family Bible, patents of nativity, and you have to prove that you exist. All you need is a witness or two, somebody in your family that's known you. You can sign these things. You can even create your own affidavit of birth with the Department of State and use that for a passport to travel instead of using your birth certificate. Because you're becoming a corporate fiction. See, a trust is a person. The trust can do everything a person can do besides vote. I need that to register. A trust is a person that can do everything besides vote. So this is why we want to place our name, so to speak, our essence of our digital footprint, our paper trail of us. We want it to be owned by a family trust, a private foreign family trust. Whether your family is your tribe, whether your family is your clan, whether your tribe is your whether your family is your congregation, whether it's your assembly. These are all key words I need everybody to write down, because this is trustees training. You got to learn how to hand down these definitions, because the government can't interfere with contracts or faith-based organizations as long as you are not hurting none and damaging property. They cannot go through your records. They can't audit you. There's a lot of things you can't do when you understand proper contracts. So this is their private family life. This is their private life. This is what I need everybody to understand. This is what I need everybody to know. If you want to learn more, go to school.com/Don Kilam. That's SKOOL.com/DONKILAM. You can look me up on the Instagram at DON_KILAM. Again, that's DON_KILAM. And remember, everybody, prosperity is your divine birthright. Peace.
In a world where the tax system can seem overwhelming, one book is here to guide you towards financial empowerment. Introducing The Capitalizing Namepreneur, Unleashing the Power of Tax Credits by best-selling author Don Kilam. Are you looking to demystify the complexities of taxes and harness the power of tax credits? The Capitalizing Namepreneur provides an understanding of effectively utilizing your tax credits. Discover the secrets behind setting up a tax firm, understanding the strawman name, protecting your assets, and navigating the implications of the Social Security Trust Fund. Don Kilam's expertise shines through every page. It's like having a personal financial advisor by your side. Get your copy of The Capitalizing Namepreneur today and unlock the power of tax credits to enhance your financial well-being. Order your copy now and take control of your tax strategies. The Capitalizing Namepreneur, Unleashing the Power of Tax Credits by Don Kilam. Available now at leading bookstores and online. Get your copy today.